Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to Kansas City Profiles presented by Easton Roofing. Thelma's Kitchen is truly an inspirational Kansas City story and is an enterprise that, like all of us, is having to adjust in these turbulent times. An offshoot of Reconciliation Services, a 30-year-old program based on Troost Avenue, which has been working for those 3 decades to try and promote a more healthy racial atmosphere for the area. In late 2018, Reconciliation Services started Thelma's Kitchen, Kansas City's first pay-what-you-can restaurant. The head of both programs is Father Justin Matthews, and he is here today to tell the story of the 2 programs in spellbinding fashion. Both programs are seen as gathering places where different cultures can learn more about each other to create a greater good. There is little reason for me to set the stage anymore when I get to speak with such an eloquent purveyor of the message of both programs as Father Justin Matthews joins me next on Kansas City Profiles, presented by Easton Roofing. We're here with Joe Spiker, the president of Easton Roofing. And Joe, you worked for other companies in the construction industry. What inspired you to start your own company in Easton Roofing?
Well, you know, Danny, when you are working for somebody else, you oftentimes don't get to see the project through from beginning to end, and you don't get the final control over the customer experience. And I wanted to build a place where people can come and get work done on their house and not have to worry about being treated the wrong way and get a good customer service experience start to finish.
The company slogan is "Where Integrity Matters." Why is that so particularly important to you?
Well, for us, what that means is treating each other with respect at work, treating our clients with respect, and making the right choice, especially when no one's looking. So when you're presented all the time as a contractor with choices that have to be made, are you going to make more money on this if you cut a corner? And we just wanted to make a place and a slogan that said to our people and to whoever is our customer, we're not going to do that. We're going to make the right choice regardless of profit.
Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. Are you thinking of starting a new business? Does your current business feel stuck? Or are you just trying to grow what you already have? Running a business is a lot of work, and it takes the right team to make it all happen. If you're looking to grow your business, call my friends Ben and Greg over at Fuego Consulting. They put together a company that can help you reach your business goals. Whether you're looking to get online, build a social media strategy, or rebrand your business, they can help. Call Fuego at 816-663-9695 or visit them online at fuegoconsulting.com. Fuego Consulting. Let's grow your business together. My friends at Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture are among the most accomplished and trusted clinics in the nation. Only one clinic has been rated in the top 5 in all 3 categories of chiropractic care, acupuncture, and rehabilitation, and that clinic is ASFCA. They have locations in Olathe, Overland Park, Prairie Village, Belton, and Lee Summit. Doctors Brad and Christina Woodle and their accomplished team of doctors and therapists will treat you like family, for the simplest of injuries to the most complicated conditions to avoid surgery. Whether you are seeking treatment for an injury or just looking to stay healthy and fit, this is the place for you. And it's been the place for me for almost 2 years now. I have been a strenuous daily exerciser for years, and as time goes on, that takes its toll. But regular appointments at Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture have helped keep me ticking on, and even as the years pile up, their regular care has allowed me to keep to my regimen and feel great. If you want to feel the same, give them a call or visit them at asfca.com/Danny. They accept all insurances and are open Monday through Saturday, and make sure to mention that Danny Clinkscale recommended Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture.
If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at danny@dannyclinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you.
Welcome back to Kansas City Profiles, presented by Easton Roofing, and we're profiling a non-for-profit, a man, a good organization, and certainly a timely bit of news right now, an adjustment that we all have to make. And our guest is Father Justin Matthews, who is the operator of a couple of things, Reconciliation Services, as well as Thelma's Kitchen, in addition to his regular pastoral work. And first of all, welcome, and tell us a little bit about yourself and how your life took you in this particular direction.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the program. It's an honor to speak to you and to your audience. So I am an Orthodox Christian priest, which means I am married. I have 3 kids, and I currently don't serve a particular church. Reconciliation Services really is my church. That's my full-time work. But I grew up in Kansas City. I actually grew up out in Prairie Village, of all places, and when I had come back with my family to Kansas City in 2008, I became a volunteer with Reconciliation Services and the founders, Thelma and David Alschel, and started to work with my family when my kids were just little bitty and on the back, even toddlers. And we came down and we were volunteering, serving meals, and my heart just was captured by, first of all, the founders and their commitment to serve the poor and to love their neighbor and to extend mercy to those who are struggling to survive and succeed. And then my wife and I really felt a calling, a sense of purpose. I had been in the nonprofit leadership world, and she had been a reporter. And so we bought a house east of Troost and began to really commit ourselves to the work in Kansas City, and felt like we couldn't be commuters to our community. So we came down, and in 2012, the co-founder, Thelma Alschel, passed away, and I was there and helping to serve her funeral as a priest. And David, her husband, who I knew as Father Alexi, he had become an Orthodox priest as well. Father really needed to go on sabbatical. He ended up becoming an Orthodox Christian monastic. And in 2013, the once volunteer tried to fill really huge shoes. And so I became the executive director. And the rest is really history. We are a social venture nonprofit at 31st and Troost, and we serve the community in a number of ways.
And tell me about some of the ways that you help out the people with mental health services and things of the like.
Yeah, so Reconciliation Services mission really begins with a problem. The problem is essential. If you name the wrong problem, you end up with the wrong solution, even if it's a good one. So we really begin with an understanding that Troost Avenue is the historic racial and economic dividing line in Kansas City, and that it's discrimination and that history of economic disinvestment that created the conditions for poverty and trauma and depression on the east side. And so, as the old book says, if one part of the body is sick, the whole body suffers. And so we are working to cultivate a community to bring about reconciliation, both east and west, black and white, rich and poor, where we can all come together and bring healing and hope to Kansas City. But we don't do that just simply through Band-Aids. As a social venture, we believe in radical participation, and we invite people into ownership of the work. So for our client guests, we offered over 1,400 hours of trauma therapy, depression, counseling, and case management services last year. 871 people got help with rent and utilities. We distributed over $111,000 of medical and dental assistance. And then this is a big and important one. Over 1,500 people got assistance with their state ID or birth certificates or work permits of some sort, like if they needed a restaurant permit to go and to be a waiter or to serve at a fast food restaurant. So those are some of the essential services that we provide. And then in addition to that, we provide what we call economic community building. So that takes shape in a couple ways. First of all, we have a program called the Foster Grandparents Program, and we have 86 seniors who all themselves live 200% below the federal poverty level, and they volunteer in about 30 different schools with almost 300 kids. And those 86 seniors last year donated their time in the total of 89,000 hours of volunteering. Now, we pay them a volunteer stipend, and we help them to age in place with dignity, and we build community with them. And then lastly, we are pursuing a particular model called social venturing, and our first social venture is Thelma's Kitchen, of course, named after our founder, Thelma Alschel. And Thelma's Kitchen is a restaurant. It's Kansas City's first Donate What You Can restaurant at 31st and Troost, where everyone is welcome. and you can donate what you can. Suggested price of $12 or $9, depending on the plate size, or more than that, or less than that. And if you don't have $3, which is half of our food costs, what we ask you to do is to volunteer your time for 20 and 30 minutes. And by doing that, we have hundreds of people a week that actually help us run the restaurant. And anybody can do that. And in exchange for that, we offer them a hot, nutritious, home-cooked meal. And I'm proud to tell you that we are a 5-star Yelp-rated restaurant on Troost Avenue. So that's just a sample of some of the work that we're doing at Reconciliation Services.
What was the idea behind using the elderly or grandparent type of model to be the people who provide the backbone in the reconciliation services aspect of it, besides just maybe going to the general public?
Sure. So the Foster Grandparents Program is actually a 50-year-old war on poverty program that we are the sponsors for in Jackson, Clay, and Platte counties. And we partner with students who have exceptional needs and who are struggling in these school systems. And these 86 seniors are amazing. Think about it. You've got people, literally, I can think of one woman, Miss Benson, who walked across the bridge in Selma with Dr. Martin Luther King, but she's, like many, struggling to survive, and some people in the program don't have family to care for them, and so there's real difficulty aging in place. But there's such wisdom, there's such strength just waiting to be revealed. So we bridge that gap, and we allow these seasoned adults to find meaningful life work, a little bit of income, and we're connecting them with kids who just get loved on in the classroom, and really it makes all the difference, particularly in schools that are really struggling with kids who need extra help.
You write a blog on the Reconciliation Services website, and there's great material there. And there is, in some regards to the message you're giving right now, there is a political aspect of it. Obviously, as a caring and outreaching type of program, do you ever have any problem with the politics of the side of it interfering with the good work?
I appreciate you asking that. There are no politics when it comes to loving your neighbor, when it's just you and I. And really, this is a place where we're seeking to reveal the strength of the entire community. So we've got people from every walk of life, both those who embrace the spiritual life and those who don't, those who come from the left, right, and everywhere else. And particularly what we're trying to do is to help everyone to find meaningful work, to find a way to plug in to where we can see all ships rise together. Some people I've told when they ask me about politics, I'd say, look, I'm more conservative than the conservatives, and I'm more liberal than the liberals. It just depends on the particular issue. Because what really is at heart is learning to love one another, to get proximal with one another again. We can address the blight of the buildings on Troost and in our city all day long. But if we don't address the blight of the heart that created the conditions for poverty in Kansas City in the first place, then all we're doing is moving poor people. We're not solving anything. So we need anybody and everybody to participate in this work at Reconciliation Services.
A lot of people are uncomfortable with the issue of race, period. And when you talk about the dividing line of Troost and the seeds of the economic disparities that we see in areas of America, like the cities of here in Kansas City and elsewhere, and we'll get into the fact that there are Thelma's Kitchens models elsewhere as well. How, especially in this, the last few years, we've just seen such a disparity with people that there's no discussion, there's no common ground. How are you fighting that?
The thing is that I don't go after that issue always head on. What I try to do is to get around the trigger words for all the communities and to try to look at both the history and the facts on the ground. So look, the history of Kansas City is that the land that I'm standing on right now at 31st and Troost has always been a dividing line. From the time 200 years ago that Troost approximated a hunting trail for the Osage Nation that ran down to Claw Point, to 1831, when Reverend Porter and his wife moved here from Tennessee with upwards of 100 slaves, and this land was a 360-acre plantation. This street and this part of our town has always been a dividing line. And for me, the seeds of that spiritual and economic and moral issue run really deeply, and they transcend the modern day politics, and they beg for a more comprehensive solution. But if you move beyond the history and you really look at the present day facts on the ground, look, the recent statistics say that 16.5% of Kansas Cityans are in poverty or living below the federal poverty level. But 25% of African Americans in Kansas City are living below the federal poverty level. You've got people in Kansas City, 53% of the adults, our neighbors in Kansas City, are suffering from debilitating numbers of traumatic events and depression and PTSD. And there are statistical and factual inequities. These things have their root somewhere. It cannot be just laziness. It can't just be some stereotype. We have to begin to use the great intelligence that we have as Americans and begin to look critically, not just at the symptoms at the surface, but begin to grapple with the underlying roots of these inequities. And we all have a part to play, no matter what your political persuasion, no matter what you think about the issue of racism or economic disinvestment in Kansas City. It's incumbent upon all of us to get educated, to begin to grapple with those underlying roots, and then to decide for ourselves, okay, how am I going to be a part of this solution? Because at the root level, I think all of the listeners on this program love their neighbor, and they want to see people thrive and succeed. We can all play a part in that.
When you were taking your path toward being a person of the cloth, are you surprised that you are now in a place where you don't have a church, where your work comes in a different model, as it were?
You know, that's a great question. There's an ancient Christian pastor. His name was St. John Chrysostom, and he said this phrase that I'll never forget. He said, there are some priests, some pastors that view their parish as their universe, and there are some people who view the universe as their parish. And I really embrace the latter. You know, to me, we're not going to proselytize when you come into reconciliation services. I really feel like the United States has had so much fire and brimstone that we're like burnt over. You know, what we really need now is to love one another until people ask you why. And then, you know, if they're interested in that conversation, of course, as a pastor, as a Christian, I'm more than willing to talk about that. But, you know, like St. Francis said, we've got to preach always and, when necessary, use words. I believe that, you know, if you expect people to trust you with matters of the heart, they've got to first be able to trust you with matters of the stomach. And so for me, our work is very much sort of tip of the spear. And, you know, we do not discriminate in anyone who comes in, because really extending God's mercy and the love that we all deserve and that dignity, extending hope to the hopeless, is something that we all really need and that we all can do.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
Hey everyone, this is Matt Llewellyn from 23rd Street Brewery, wishing you well while you stay safe during this time of uncertainty. Due to the recent news, you won't be able to get the same in-restaurant experience at the 23rd Street Brewery that you've come to expect over the past 16 years. But you can get the same delicious items prepared with the highest level of staff cleanliness available for carryout and delivery through our partners, Eat Street. You can also still enjoy our craft beers and crowlers for to-go service. So remember, stay safe, and together we will all get through this time of uncertainty.
For many people, a family law case will be one of the most difficult experiences in their life. The law firm of Kenneth McRae will help you through it. Personal and effective help from Ken in concert with you will develop a unique strategy for your unique case. As Ken always says, divorce can be civil law, not civil war. Licensed in Kansas Visit McCraeLawOffice.com or call 913-972-4765.
We're visiting with Larry Marshall, former Chiefs defensive back and punt returner and now a Chiefs ambassador. Larry is a former pro football player with the aches and pains that come with that, and moving on in age as we all are. What do the Canaway CBD products do for you?
It's been a great relief for me. Being a punt and kickoff returner, collisions were a mainstay of my career, and these Canaway products, the salve especially, has really helped me try to get through every day with the aches and pains that I've had over a career of 7+ years in the NFL.
I get similar benefits as well, particularly with my back. Certainly wasn't a football player. What's the best way for our listeners to get more information about the great products themselves?
Well, I'm so enthused about it, Dana. If they just contact me at larrymarshall.canaway.com, and I can give them all the information they need to help them get through the day as well.
Start gaining all the benefits that Larry and I do from the trusted and reliable line of Canaway products. As Larry said, visit larrymarshall.canaway.com and get information on all the great products from Canaway. Cinematic Visions has been an affordable solution for professional media production in Kansas City since 2003, offering award-winning video production and creation, as well as a wide array of digital and social media management services. From planning, scripting, filming, editing, and post-production, to delivering your product to a watching world, Cinematic Visions will provide professional and affordable services for you and your business with the necessary return on investment to make it all worthwhile. Cinematic Vision's goal is to unlock the power of storytelling through video and a strong online presence for your company. Beyond the numbers, they want to inspire and evoke your clients to feel and act. Let my friends at Cinematic Visions embed your brand where it belongs, in your customers' minds. You can find them online at cinematicvisions.com or with a quick phone call at 816-600-6300. If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at Danny@DannyKlinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Father Justin Matthews is our guest, and he is his most recent enterprise, as you just described, and a couple of years now, or about a year for Thelma's Kitchen, is that right?
Yeah, so Thelma's Kitchen is working on its second year since we opened.
So Thelma's Kitchen is the model. What was the idea? What was the, you said you wanted to go in an area where this is your first, I forget the phrase you used, but your first enterprise, as it were. What was the actual germination of it?
Sure. So I'm a big believer that yesterday's nonprofit model and fundraising model is not going to provide for today and tomorrow's need for service delivery and innovation. I've been doing nonprofit executive leadership in one form or another for 22 years. And the one thing that I know for a fact is that we in the nonprofit world are not as adept at innovation as the for-profit world. So social venturing, the way that I define it, is really bringing together and harnessing the best of business, faith, and philanthropy for social good. So Thelma's Kitchen is the first social venture enterprise that we've started here, and its whole foundation is that we can pursue a do-no-harm development strategy, one that provides a catalytic impact in an area where there is a lot of development beginning to happen, and we can help all ships rise together. But at the same time, we can diversify as a nonprofit the economic model that we take in order to allow ourselves to have the freedom to do the innovation and the entrepreneurial work that Kansas City is so known for and that is so desperately needed in the nonprofit world.
When you decided to come up with this new model, you mentioned that you're a 5-star Yelp-rated restaurant. What was your hope in... I think when people think of an enterprise like Thelma's Kitchen, they're thinking it's like a soup kitchen. But obviously there's better quality there, and people can have a fine meal. Did you figure it was a challenge to get people to realize that it might be actually a really great place to eat and not just some place where people who could not afford it could get a meal for a less expensive price?
Yeah, Thelma's Kitchen is about the farthest thing from a soup kitchen that you can imagine. Thelma's Kitchen is really a place where we bring the community together And we have an incredible experience eating together and breaking bread together. And this model, like I said earlier, it encourages radical participation. What we want to move away from is that old school 1950s kind of soup, soap, and salvation model where those who have resources, who are typically white and have more time and the retired folks from Johnson County. And here I'm just speaking real plainly as somebody who grew up, and I am that. We stand on one side of the line, and then very often in the shelter experience that's sort of ubiquitous in America, you find men and women of color who are low income, who are representative of that larger category that I talked about earlier, who are struggling to survive and succeed, and they're on the other side of the line. Look, we've got to figure out ways to bake in equity and to encourage ownership and participation. Because while the old 1950s soup kitchen model does a great job of providing for today's hunger, what it doesn't do is solve tomorrow's hunger and the hunger that's at the root of so many issues in people's social security and in their life. So Thelma's Kitchen, when you come in, everybody is welcome to volunteer and to eat on both sides of the counter. And it's an incredible experience. We have these two very long wooden community tables where we just mix and mingle. And it's not bizarre. It's not uncomfortable. It's really like sitting next to anybody in a restaurant, except for you might have somebody who's a CEO or a school teacher, and you might also have somebody who's working poor or recently unemployed, or somebody who's even homeless and just got off the bus. So together, we are striving to create a model, and I think about it like urban acupuncture, right? This is a particular pressure point in a very important part of our city. And when we begin to work in this particular area at 31st and Troost, we can have a catalytic impact, not only here on this street, but one that spreads all throughout the city.
Give me an idea of the percentage of people who come in who actually pay full price, and how many people pay nothing and end up volunteering, and how many people are sort of in the in-between area.
Sure. Yeah. So about 70% of the people who come into Thelma's Kitchen sort of during normal times, not during this COVID-19 time that we're living in now.
Yeah.
Right. So kind of normal operations for the last year and a half or so, I've seen about 70% of the people come in and donate something less than the suggested donation price for a large or a small plate of $12 or $9. But they might be offering $5 or, $6. People truly donate what they can. You also have people that are coming in and donating significantly more than that. We have a lot of companies that come in and do, I think it's the most powerful HR and team building training in Kansas City. It's a program that we run called Lunch on Me KC, where a company comes in and sponsors all of the lunches for that day for $1,200. And then they get a kind of a brief hour-long HR training where we talk about issues in the community and do education. And then they put on aprons and they run the restaurant, of course, with us helping them. But, those opportunities to see all ships rise together are there and available. But we probably have between 30 and 40 people every day who are also exchanging time and volunteering for a meal. And I'll tell you what, it's unbelievable. We used to run a free community meal, but once we started Thelma's Kitchen, folks that used to just come in and eat and leave, with which we had no relationship, now come in and are like owners. They are proud to serve in Thelma's Kitchen. And I love, as the director, and I love to see volunteers go up to our walk-in volunteers and treat them like anybody else. I make a point to walk especially to those walk-in volunteers and say, hey, thanks, man, for volunteering today. We could not do this without you. You ought to see the look on their faces. They're never, or rarely, I should say, in the position where they're offering their strength to solve the problem. It's expected that they're going to be the ones who are receiving what we have to give. But when we all contribute It's like that old story of stone soup. Do you remember that story?
Yes.
Yeah, where one guy gets together with some water and a stone in the pot, and another guy says, "Hey, what are you doing?" He said, "I'm making stone soup." And he says, "Well, I've got some carrots." And another guy said, "I've got some potatoes." And on it goes through the village. And next thing you know, everybody's chipping in according to their strength, and there's enough to take care of everybody. Look, that's not politics. That's not, something ingenious. That's just being neighbor to one another. And that's the model that really underlies Thelma's Kitchen and has made it so successful.
How can people donate to Thelma's Kitchen, and what kind of percentage does the actual, people paying for the food, at whatever level, what percentage of that fuels Thelma's Kitchen, and what percentage has to be culled from donations?
Right, so about 70% of the people coming in are donating less than the suggested price. So the 30% who are donating at the suggested price or even more are really paying it forward for the others. You can go to thelma'skitchen.org/donate, and you can learn all about what we do, all about the model, and you can make a gift even from your own home or from work right now. We'd also invite you to sign up to volunteer. We've developed a pretty incredible self-scheduling website that once you go to thelma'skitchen.org and you go through the orientation for volunteers, you can just hop on the website and schedule yourself for a shift in the restaurant whenever you like. You don't have to deal with calling in or filling out forms. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible for everybody to come in and participate.
Of course, right now, nobody's coming in, and nobody's coming into any restaurants in the Kansas City area. What was the adjustment like to that? And I know you still are providing meals, but this has got to be a completely different model for you. What has the adjustment been like? And obviously, it's been a free-flowing and changing enterprise, really, since this all came tumbling down on us a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, man, Danny, I'll tell you, it's just been a whirlwind since this virus situation took over, and we actually shut down Thelma's Kitchen just before the mayor shut down all of the restaurants. And of course, the day that we're speaking right now, they've just implemented the first day of the shelter-in-place rules. And so I'll tell you, ever since this has happened, we've had to make a lot of adjustments. First of all, we've closed Thelma's Kitchen, and we're now serving meals in to-go boxes for anybody who comes between 11 and 2. And while people are still welcome to donate, nobody's having to volunteer and nobody has to pay anything. Right now, it's just a matter of making sure that the working poor, those who are recently unemployed, and the homeless in the community are getting the food access that they need. Our community social services and therapy program has not slowed at all. In fact, the work that we do with IDs and medicine cabinet has ticked up quite a bit. So we are really struggling right now to have enough money for the IDs and to meet the needs of the community. We're struggling to lower our food costs. So we're reaching out to wholesale grocers and to companies that have frozen food or those kind of donations that can be made, not cooked food, but things that we can cook in our commercial kitchen. And we're working to lower our costs and to be nimble in the community. Another thing that's really happened as a result of this is that we've had to begin making deliveries to our foster grandparents and a number of the people in the community who can't get out now.
So if people do they still come by the Thelma's Kitchen location for the lunches, which are available from 11 to 2?
They do, and it fluctuates every day. We are expecting the numbers to increase, but right now, yesterday, we served over 300 meals, which is double what Thelma's usually serves in a normal day before this virus. And normally in Thelma's, we're using sustainable, reusable to-go containers. And, unfortunately now we're back to styrofoam and kind of the old school. And I can't stand it. We do everything we can to really bless the community and be sustainable in the work that we do. But right now, the primary need is to care for one another. And so the mayor has designated reconciliation services as an essential service, one that is going to remain open. And I got to tell you, I am so proud of my team. They bring joy and just a spirit of peace to the work that they do every day. And they're committed to staying on the front lines and to serving the community, anybody who comes.
Reconciliation Services and Thelma's Kitchen are in part the work of Father Justin Matthews, although obviously he's given credit and would hate to have it phrased that way. To conclude, obviously we're going to be fighting this particular battle for probably months, not weeks, but you obviously then subsequently will go on and continue to fight the same battle with Thelma's Kitchen. What is it like do you feel like when we go through this process where people have to really sacrifice to help each other, that coming out the other side, they may have a better idea of what it is that organizations like yours provide and maybe make your life a little easier as far as the fundraising and volunteer aspects?
Well, that's yet to be told, although there is nothing like the American generosity. And I've traveled to other countries, and there is something distinct about Americans and the way that they give and the way that we have a culture of philanthropy. And, that word philanthropy in the original Greek means to love mankind. And we are, in spite of all of our differences and some of the terse times that we live in, we are people who at a heart love one another and care for one another. And that's the true American spirit that we're founded on. And so I trust in that. I trust in the provision of neighbors and the generosity of this city. It's going to be difficult. With the closing of Thelma's Kitchen, all of that income has evaporated. All of the corporate sponsorships that would have happened through the Lunch on Me KC program and those volunteer days has evaporated. We also have a leadership program called The Social Leader that we're getting ready to launch. That's been postponed. So, we're probably going to have $250,000 to $500,000 of a delta, of a loss in our income, depending on how long this lasts. And then after this is all over, it took us a long time to orient the community towards this idea of donate what you can. So it's going to be a little bit like getting on a bicycle again. We might have to get up the courage and work to ride again after a big fall. But again, I trust in this community, and I trust in the generosity of those listeners who are listening to even right now. And I believe with faith that we're going to get through this and come out really revealing the strength of Kansas City.
And once again, how can people get involved, especially at this badly needed time, as you mentioned?
So you can learn more about the work of Reconciliation Services at rs3101.org. And you can find out more, particularly about Thelma's Kitchen, on that website as well. You can go to thelma'skitchen.org/donate. And either of those websites you can make a donation on. But we would encourage people to donate a meal. We would encourage people to, as they're able, if they're younger than 60 in this time, come and volunteer. We need plastic bags, like the grocery bags that people get at the grocery store. They can drop those off. And then most especially, here's what I want to leave you with. You got a lot of people in the audience right now who are experiencing unemployment and are struggling to survive and succeed. And many people have never had to ask for help before. I want the employers who are having to let people go and those who are unemployed to know we're not just here for those who are homeless and poor. We're here for you too. So if you're in Kansas City and you need help, you can come to 31st and Troost, get a meal at Thelma's Kitchen. It's an amazing meal. And you can even come in to the lobby. And if we don't have what you need, we know how to find it, and we'll get you to the right place.
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like Easton Roofing, the presenting sponsor of Kansas City Profiles at the Danny Kling Scale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Kling Scale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.